Hello, and welcome to an intro to Anthro with two humans. I'm human number one, John McCray.
And I'm human number two, John Lehr.
And this is the podcast where we reassess what it means to be human. And the title of this episode is Alpha Schmalpha, You're Not My Real Daddy. So, John, we're obviously going to be talking about alpha males, but that title is also playing on the statement, who's your daddy? Or the question, who's your daddy?
Who's your daddy? Which is something an alpha male might say.
Right, exactly. And like what somebody who's a child from a divorced home or something might say, you can't tell me what to do. You're not my real dad.
Right, right.
So that's what we're playing with.
And it's a nod, a subtle nod to the Little Rascals television show with Alfalfa.
Yeah, the Alpha Schmalpha. I never thought about that. Really.
Yeah, just a subtle nod back to the glory days.
Subliminal.
Mm-hmm.
He was Alpha Schweitzer was I think it was Schweitzer. He was buried in Hollywood Forever Cemetery.
Oh,
had a very tragic life after he left. There.
I'm shocked. A child star having a tragic life.
Right.
Hollywood Forever is a cemetery very close to my house.
Mm-hmm.
Where a lot of famous people were buried, but they also show horror movies during the summer in the cemetery. Yeah. I saw The Shining. I saw The Shining there, which was just fantastic. Yeah,
I think they projected against the big mausoleum building.
Yes,
right?
They do, and you sit on grave sites. It's insane. Only in LA. Only in LA.
They have a great Day of the Dead celebration there too.
Yes,
the Hollywood Forever.
Hell yeah.
So anyway, John, I just want to say this topic was one of the most difficult episodes that I've done so far, as far as researching what to put into it. And I was working on this literally up until about 15 minutes ago when we started. And one of the reasons is I didn't know if I was going to talk about alpha males from a physical anthropology standpoint, from a cultural anthropology standpoint. Is it psychology, biology, or social behaviors? Or do I just talk about the history of the concept of an alpha male? And
wow.
And then, it brings up all of these ideas about manhood, masculinity, misogyny, aggression, bullying, and all of this. How do you talk about that in an hour in a supposedly comedy podcast?
Yes. Well, I tag our podcast as humor, not comedy.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're more humorous.
Do you think that's
comedy.
More sophisticated?
Yes.
Is that what it is?
It gives you a little leeway, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. I didn't know there was that distinction. That was
yes.
I remember when our friend Jeff and we had a greeting card company at one time.
Yes, a very good one.
We were nominated for Best Comedy Greeting Card of the Year, which are the Louis Awards. They're like the Emmys and the Oscars for greeting card people. But we were nominated. But we were best comedy greeting card, $2 and above.
Oh, Jesus!
We were above the line. We were above the line. There's a distinction. Wow. In there.
Yeah, below the line, you got hey.
Yeah. Just a funny,
it's
like
your
a cat.
Birthday.
A cat drinking a beer. Above the line, you got
right.
some really professional writing going on. But anyway, so before we begin, I just want to apologize to everybody. If it seems like I'm jumping around a bit, or if it seems like I'm trying to talk about everything, because I am. I'm not trying to get it all in there.
This is probably a good time to bring. A lot of our fan mail says that lately you've been jumping around and not as deliberate as you were in season 1.
Yeah, exactly.
The wheels have come off the wagon. Yeah,
season 2 is always tough.
It's always everybody wonders why the season 2 of a TV show is worse than season 1. It's because everybody's exhausted. Right. You gave everything you got to launch the ship, and now you're screwed.
Right. I'm writing this one on the fly. The other one, we had a little leeway in there. But
all right.
So anyway, over the past 20 years, as you probably know or are aware of, the idea of the alpha male has really taken hold in popular culture.
Oh, God, yes. As an alpha male, No, I'm not an alpha male.
Yeah,
as a beta male.
You're a high beta. You're a beta plus. Beta
I don't know.
But if you Google alpha male, and I was trying to find people who had written critical arguments or people who had written critical books about this phenomenon.
Yes.
But if you Google it or go to Amazon, there's thousands of websites and books telling you how to become an alpha male. Mm-hmm. There's nobody really looking at it from a critical standpoint.
Yeah. And if everybody's becoming an alpha male, there's a problem there.
Right.
Then we got to start writing books on how to be an alpha male.
Right. If everybody's at that, reaches that benchmark of alpha male.
Guess what? Suddenly, you're a beta male.
It starts over. It never ends. So what do we mean by alpha male? And that's in her book, Sexual Selections, What We Can and Can't Learn About Sex from Animals. Marlene Zook quotes the New York Times, who said in 1999, alpha males dominate and lead other members of the pack, while beta males are subordinate and play a helpmate role.
No, that's me. That's me. You're the alpha male of this podcast.
Oh, no. An alpha male of two.
I'm going to pull the curtain back a little bit. We had a false start on our podcast because my iPhone took over the podcasting software and was recording out of my phone, so it just sounded horrid. But I try as the beta subservient male. I had to get right on that. I Googled, I fixed it all. Hopefully.
You know what? I thought, to pull back the curtain even more, I thought, all right, it's already written. We've done it once. I thought, well, this would be easier. That I know what's going to be there. But I was still working on this one. I still got up early this morning and went in there and started rewriting the whole thing again. That's how complicated this one was.
Yeah, it's touching you. This one's personal.
Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe it did. That's what Mary said. Maybe Mary was like, maybe it's because you're a man. It's like, maybe I don't know. Yeah. This one, I could certainly talk about like masturbation or dining etiquette a lot easier. That one just
you had
flows
no
out.
Trouble with masturbation. That one just shot out.
Yeah, I couldn't keep up with my own hand on writing that one. But in her, let's see, and the writer Jesse Singal says that alpha males are the winners, and the betas are always several laps behind. And then he says, "Don't even ask about the omega males."
No, that's me. I'm the omega. But here's what I do. Once you lap me, I cut across the track, and then everybody thinks I'm in second place. Yeah.
Yeah. At a certain point, you get far enough behind, people think you're in the lead again.
Yeah, they forget. Yeah.
And Singal says there are many definitions of alpha male, but the term, as it has most commonly been interpreted recently, involves a level of dominance. Alphas get their way because they know how to, because they know to not back down.
Oh, Jesus.
I know.
Jesus.
I know.
I back down. I'm going to tell you right now.
I'm like, what is it? The sunk cost analysis. Sometimes you have to back, or the game theory. You have to back down sometimes. You know what I mean?
Oh, I mean, I always know when to fold them.
Yeah, that's you get in a lot of trouble if you don't know when to back down. That's the problem.
When in doubt, I back down. My kids run the show here at the house. So like my style of parenting is when they ask for something, I say no. And then they ask again. And I'm like, okay.
All right. Well, it takes care of aggression and anxiety in the household, which is, that's chimp behavior, I think.
Yeah.
But Singal says, at that comment, like we were just talking about, that like they don't back down. It makes sense on the surface intuitively. Like you think like, yeah, that's why I'm not going to back down or anything. But as long as you don't think too hard about it, like you think a little bit deeper about it, you realize that could cause a lot of problems.
Yes.
That could cause a lot of problems.
A lot of problems, especially on highways when people cut in front of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then suddenly firearms are involved.
Right. And the thing, I mean, as far as that, they always say to keep traffic flowing better for everybody, you have to learn how to zipper. Meaning, like when you get to the end of the lane coming on, you don't immediately go try to cut in. You wait till you get to the end, and the people already in the lane let you in, and that's how everybody's moving.
I agree. I hear you, but people will never do that, which is why we need to hire robots to drive us around, because we just can't do it. Yeah. We can't do it.
You got a zipper. Yeah. You got a zipper.
I love it when people say, robot-powered cars are going to be so dangerous. I'm like, have you been on the highway lately?
Yeah, exactly.
Have you seen what's going on out there?
The way it wouldn't be dangerous is if we're all in robot cars. Maybe that's what it is.
That's what's going to happen. We're all we've lost our privileges to drive as a race of primates.
Yeah.
No, we're taking it away. The keys are being removed from us.
Right. And hopefully the robots will zipper. That seems like something you can program.
Absolutely. The robots will zipper.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I can't wait for robot cars. I'm like, bring it. Bring it. I'm exhausted with these people.
Yeah. Driving's tiring, I think. Yeah.
Oh, I overheard a conversation between my wife and her cousin, who are both natives, scream furious that people don't realize the diamond lane is the fast lane. and I'm over there thinking, it's not the fast lane. The fast lane's the fast lane. The diamond lane's the diamond lane.
Yeah.
Fury. Yeah. And that's when I realized we're never going to get along on the roads. We got to get these cars off as fast as possible.
So getting back, actually, though, it does seem like, if from a certain perspective, that there are people who are extremely successful and always get what they want. It does seem that way.
Yes.
And,
the problem is that people think it happens. They get their way first, which leads to them getting what they want. But I don't know. Some of the people, I was telling you earlier that I was just dealing with a guy who gets everything he wants. I think they get rich first and then they get everything they want.
Right.
I think people have got it backwards.
Yeah, I think, we've talked about, in another show, we talked about how the free will show, we talked about how there are certain things beyond your control.
Right.
That affects if you're going to be successful or not. And it probably happened when you were first born. Yes. And it has to economic and social, educational things.
Color of your skin.
Right.
All of it.
Right. And so it may not even have anything to do with you or the fact that you're going out there every day and beating the pavement or,
right.
Right. And you may succeed. And actually, from my limited success in Hollywood when I first went out there, it was really luck. It was, yes, I had good scripts to go with it, but it was luck, really. I just stumbled into it.
Yeah, people think that it's the idea that's important. It's not the idea. All the ideas are good. It better be good. Like that's a baseline that your idea has to be good.
Yeah.
It then comes to, well, can you work with people? Can you execute? Can you give these people confidence that you can pull this off? It's all of that.
Yeah.
People hand me a script and say it's a great idea, and I'm like, I've got 50 great ideas.
I know. I always love when people call you up. It's like, hey, you're a writer. I got an idea. It's like write it yourself. Right?
Yeah, that's here's a headline. That's the easy part.
I know. Idea. I get thousands of ideas every day, But the thing is, if you're struggling and not succeeding, if you're being bullied, or if you're asking women out and they keep saying no, you look at those people who seem to have it all and you say, what do they got that I don't got?
Right.
You know what I mean? And the answer that comes back a lot of times, at least in certain books and articles and websites, is, well, they're alpha males.
Right.
They're
right.
alpha males.
They know how to reach out and grab life.
Right.
And make it do what they want.
Right. And they don't feel sorry for it because that's what real leaders do.
Right.
It's
dog eat dog. It's survival of the fittest. Either you're going to eat or you're going to be eaten. Are you a lamb or are you a lion or a wolf or whatever?
There's all kinds of analogies and metaphors that they use to go with it. Because, it's all just saying that, aggression, greed, selfishness, whether it be economic or even sexual, because usually it's sexual. It's all about getting laid.
Yes.
Is in our DNA, and that's the way it was for millions of years.
Yes, you can't ignore the real man.
Right, exactly. And some of us are alphas and some of us are betas. And if you're not a leader, then you're a follower. It's that simple.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
And to me, as somebody that grew up reading comic books back in the 70s.
Really? I didn't know you were a comic book guy.
A little bit. I would. I reuld like Mad Magazine and stuff like that.
Well, that's not a comic book. That's a humor magazine.
Oh, yeah, it was very sophisticated. That's probably why I didn't laugh a lot of the times. But the thing is, all of this sounds like a repackaging of those old Charles Atlas ads in the back of a comic book, where there's like the really muscular guy who's kicking sand in the skinny, scrawny guy's face.
And then what does he do? He goes, works out, and now he kicks sand.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't make the world better. He just becomes an asshole just like the other guy. You know what I mean? But the idea is that you buy our program, you send us money, and then we'll tell you how to go lift weights, and then you'll stop being picked on.
Did you ever order that thing? Did you ever order that pamphlet? Me neither. Me neither. No. I couldn't get past the sand. I was like, when am I ever going to be in sand? I was in Kansas. Like, this doesn't apply to me.
Yeah, they were both in like bathing suits out on the beach or something. It's like, well, as long as I'm
in a landlocked state that's flat. I'm not going to have that problem.
And I never had that problem down at the Lake the Ozarks, fortunately. It was like down on the river,
Oh, boy.
But the current alpha male incarnation of this same trope of getting sand kicked in your face is to try to apply actual physical anthropology, genetics, and animal behavior to explain why one guy has a nice car and seems to get laid all the time.
Yeah.
And again, I apologize up front if I keep coming back to like the idea of getting laid. But if you read most of these books or a lot of these books, that has a lot to do with it.
Well, and that is the one anthropological fact, right? Like, we are wired to propagate. That is. I mean, if you buy into Darwinism, right? Everything is geared towards survival
mating.
and mating. So that part I get.
Yeah, it was probably more important when there was only about 500 of us on the planet.
Yes. Yeah. No. Like everything, we've outgrown our purpose,
right? And
now we're in a prison of our own making.
Yeah,
because our brains are so big. We're so smart that we're stupid. It's like somebody from Mensa having a Mensa bumper sticker on their car. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But it's a genius driving the car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's always the way. Just because you may have a high IQ, but there's more to survival in the world as far as like your social IQ. How high is your social IQ?
There should be an IQ question like, if you are a genius, would you ever put a Mensa sticker on your bumper?
Yeah, exactly. And then so the thing is, what's interesting over the last 20 years as this idea of the alpha male has taken hold and grown in popular culture, it's actually fallen out of favor in the behavioral sciences, in like actual biological sciences, and animal behaviorists don't really use the alpha and beta anymore. So, and why? It's because, it's very complicated. Hierarchical structures in animals are very difficult. They're very nuanced and they're very complicated.
And I'm sure they change depending on situation and blah, blah, blah.
Right. And they change throughout the years. Sometimes like certain animals will be like dominant during the mating season.
Yeah.
And then after the mating season, they're not as dominant.
Oh boy, story of my life.
You have a very short mating season.
I was in charge until we popped those kids out. I went from alpha to omega real quick.
Yeah,
it's like my dog. It was like my dog. My wife loved our dog, and as soon as she had a kid, the dog was like she didn't even see him anymore.
Wow,
she was just
that's usually the way, I think.
Yeah, it's like poor Billy.
Yeah, but as we've talked about before as well, when it comes to Freudian psychoanalysis, and Freudian psychoanalysis has been debunked by therapists. But yet people still hold on to it when it comes to like art criticism or just
I know. It's been debunked more than anal alien probes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like Jesus.
Yeah. But it's still like you'll hear like with film criticism, people will be like, well, you could see at this, he's got this tower in the background. Therefore, it's, he's trying to like male dominance. I'm not saying he may have that male dominant, but it's like if you can't use Freudian psychoanalysis and say it's valid when it comes to art, when it's not valid when it comes to therapy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's good. It's set up. It's set up for that. I think it's a good framework for artistic criticism.
Yeah, it's part of our, our verbiage, and we all know what you're talking about. Right. And yeah, I got that. Yep.
But the thing, it kind of comes down with the alpha males, even though biologists say now, like, no, it's not that binary cut and dry. It's like confirmation bias. Like people have already made up their minds that they want to use that animal hierarchy to justify why they're being assholes, basically.
Yeah. Right. You're just looking, and boy, have I been there. I've written college papers where I'm just looking for a footnote to support my argument and not the other way around.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll take anything.
Since you bring it up, if you are going to plagiarize in a college paper, because I had a lot of people when I was grading papers would just Google and cut and paste.
Yes.
And the thing is, you can use other people's work. That's part of what, scholastic research is, but you have to credit them. Credit them.
And also another thing, change the font to the font you were using and remove the link.
Yeah. That was always, I would just type it. I would just cut and paste or like just type in exactly what they had and it'd bring up the article. And it would always be the first one. It'd always, at least go to the second page. Go to the second page where the teacher doesn't even laugh. It has to look a little for it.
Or they just do the ad, the one that's sponsored at the top.
I also always love when students would, I'd be like, we're out here in New Mexico, and suddenly, like in the middle of their paper, they would start using English spellings like O-U-R, color, C-O-L-O-U-R. I'd be like, where are you from again?
Somebody went to google.uk.
Yeah, so just put some effort into it. Or better yet, just credit people. Just credit who you're using.
Yeah.
And
if you do credit us, sorry to interrupt, but if you do credit us, just to underscore, we would like to, if we hit a footnote on your paper or whatever, use the dagger. Use the dagger. Yeah. We want the dagger zap dingbat.
Right. And send us a copy of the paper. Send us a copy of the paper.
Yeah. Please.
I don't know. We're desperate enough. We would even probably come out and give a presentation at your college.
Oh, hell yeah. We'll give you a back massage.
Hey now, watch it. All right, so, but I was thinking, if we're going to look at alpha maleness as an actual biological reality,
right?
I think we need to look at it as an animal behavioralist would.
Okay.
And I'm sure we've all encountered alpha males out in the wild, meaning at work, at airports, football games,
on the highway.
On the highway.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
Gun ranges.
Gun ranges. That goes without saying at gun ranges.
When you're getting LASIKs done.
Really?
Maybe not that one. I don't know. Maybe not that one.
At the gym? Do you see it at the gym?
Oh, at the gym. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You can usually, their call is the mansplaining.
Yes.
You can hear the call of the alpha male.
Yes.
That mansplaining coming across from the distance.
You can see their legs parting and you can hear the scrotum ungluing from their thighs.
Arms akimbo. They'll have arms akimbo. That's the the stance, and then they let loose with a long, shrill mansplain. Well, you know what you need to do. You know. And the thing is, even billionaires, like you have billionaires now, like taking mixed martial arts and like challenging each other to fights.
No, that's good. That's good. That's good for all of us.
Yeah.
Like, get up in go up in your rockets. Go in your rockets. Yeah, that's fine by me.
Go have a smash up derby up in space with your rockets. Like, take some with you.
Get your race car going. That's good. You should do that. That's smart.
Yeah, but I'm like, you're already a billionaire. We already have to buy all your shitty products.
I know.
Why do we have to watch you wrestle around with some other asshole that's up in there?
I wish they'd get into knife throwing, and I mean like the magician version where one of them's on a wheel and you spin the wheel and the other
Russian roulette. Russian roulette. Really show us. Like
now there's a reality show.
Yeah. Deer Hunter, billionaires playing Russian roulette.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God.
This may be our last episode. And the thing is, usually, the alpha male is loud, demanding, like we say, unapologetic, lecherous, uncompromising, and they seem to know everything. And the first thing I usually say when I see an alpha male out in public is I want to say, you're trying too hard. you're just trying too hard. Okay, it's not that hard to be successful and do what you want to do.
Take those sunglasses off the back of your neck and put them in your pocket.
I had a friend of mine who had borrowed a motorcycle. It was on the motorcycle, and he was wearing one of those little helmets.
Yeah,
and he was out cruising around, like feeling really cool. He told me this story, and he was laughing about it. And he pulls up next to a cop on the motorcycle. And, he's just sitting there and it's a Harley and it's going and he says, the cop says something to him. And he's like, what? What'd you say? And the cop says, your helmet's on backwards. He said he just rode home. He just rode home and put the motorcycle away.
He goes just immediately sell it.
It's like, you're trying too hard.
That's great.
But I think some people are, actually trying to will themselves to success. Yeah. And believe me, I've been there. Okay. I'm telling you.
Well, it's all we've got. All we think we've got. That self-will. It's really counterintuitive to bend and adapt and lean back. Like that just doesn't, it feels like you're not doing anything. You need to feel like you're doing something. Like I'm digging this ditch and it's gonna pay off.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so depressing. It's so day after day after day. It's depressing.
Yeah.
When things aren't going your way. But I'm telling you, you can will yourself to keep trying, which really persistence is probably the best thing more than anything.
Yeah.
But I can will as much as I want, but I'm not going to play for the Chiefs anymore. You know what I mean? I'm not going to.
No, I would put you. You'd be a great safety.
A walk-on?
Yeah. You're fast. I'd put you on the kick on special teams because you're a crazy motherfucker. We just put a helmet on you and go get him.
I just hang out down by the end zone. I wouldn't run around very much.
You're right. Good. That's fine.
But the thing is, if you could will yourself, like we said, will yourself to success, there would be millions of other people also willing themselves to success.
And then you're at a new baseline. It's like what we're talking about. Then somebody's got to really will.
Yeah.
If it worked, we'd all be doing it.
Right. I have a friend at work who says, he has a great saying. He goes, if the minimum wasn't enough, it wouldn't be the minimum.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah. Just right above that.
Stay close to that guy.
Yeah.
He knows what he's talking about.
He's actually a former military, like a former officer in the military.
Yeah.
But the thing is, some people have reached the conclusion that there is a biological reason for success and failure. And to be successful, they say you must free your inner chimpanzee. Oh. You must unlock your aggressive and selfish inner alpha nature.
And then go rip people's faces off, because that's what chimpanzees do.
Right. Right.
They'll just snap and rip your face off. Like literally, we've talked about this. They get in there and get under your eyelids and like literally rip your face off.
Right, right.
Oh,
and
God,
there's
that's
also,
terrifying.
they have the canine teeth, but that's what people say. There's also a lot of infanticide with chimpanzees, which people don't like to talk about at that point.
What do you mean? They kill people's babies?
They kill other chimps' babies, for part of the dominance thing.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. But the thing is, what people will say who subscribe to this this way of thinking is they'll say, like, look, we are all just hairless chimpanzees. And this is in my DNA. This is my instinct to be aggressive and dominant. Mm-hmm. I am just being true to my natural state. And and in other words, what they're saying is, like, I'm a selfish jerk, but that's how male chimps are in the jungle. So therefore, you just have to deal with it. Yeah, like a lot of people.
This is who we are.
Anytime someone says, like, that's just who I am, I don't care what they're saying. They're like, that's just who I am. You have to deal with it. And it probably means they're being an asshole, right?
Yes, of course. They're justifying some behavior that, sorry.
When you hear that, you got to be like, okay, what did they just do? That's your tip off. That's your tip off.
Uh-oh.
But the thing is, I have a few problems with this. First of all, I say to I'd like to say to the people, you're not a chimp. Right. Like, first of all.
Yeah, guess what? You're hairless. That's a big difference just that. Maybe there's other big differences.
Yeah. And secondly, you're not in the jungle. You know what I mean? You're at my house having dinner, basically.
Yeah. We've created this false environment. And it's just, even if it were true, it's not appropriate anymore.
Right. Yeah. And also, even from a chimp sociological standpoint, or from chimp society, there's a lot of politicking that goes on for chimp dominance. In a
really?
Like they'll make alliances with each other.
Really?
There's a lot of grooming. There's a lot of grooming that goes on back and forth.
I've seen that. They like to pick the lice out of this.
Right.
Which, if I had a hairy back, I'd pick lice out of your back if you promised to pick it out of mine.
I would, definitely, because that's how they make the alliances. That's how you're showing that you're close to somebody,
and everybody benefits. It's symbiotic because lice is a good source of protein, as you can see. They eat it. They eat them.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
I don't have any lice.
Let's do, in addition to the Yeti Love Convention, let's do like where we take a huge group of people, our listeners, and we go out and camp, but yet we act like apes.
That's good.
For 3 days.
Yeah, it's like cosplay, but as apes. I love it.
Yeah.
As we could work my Geico Caveman status into it. Geico Caveman invites you to cosplay as apes.
Yeah, let's throw that.
All right. Nobody take that.
Wait for the email, everybody. Wait for the email.
Yeah. Let us be the alpha males on setting that thing up.
Yeah, if we ended up being the like way down on the list, that would be bad. We're just like cleaning up after everybody after 3 days.
Yep.
But the thing is, chimps, they may fight their way to the top of their group, but once they get up there, there's a few things that they have to do, and one is they have to maintain order, meaning they have to diffuse the aggression and anxiety of the other chimps. And they also they will like politic up at the top. They'll like go to other chimps and try to, develop relationships with them to help them maintain their position.
It's like Survivor, Yeah,
it really is. And the thing is, this usually applies only to your troop, only to your group of chimps.
Right.
So like you never see in the wild like a chimp going out of its way to go like shove a zebra around. You know what I mean? To kind of show it who's boss.
Right.
Yeah.
The lion, the king of the jungle, doesn't need to go out and prove himself. He just is.
Right. He just is. Yeah. He's like Sinatra.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't have to do a damn thing.
Yeah, but again, it's kind of like when you see an alpha male or somebody just in there like berating the barista or berating the person at the fast food restaurant working at the counter. It's like, this isn't even in your group. What are you doing? Why
I know.
are you trying to increase your prestige here? You know what I mean?
Let everybody do the zipper. Let's just take time. The zipper approach to traffic should be applied to almost everything. Let him go, then I go, then you go, then we all die, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah. We do that for 80 years, and then we're gone.
Then we're dead.
We don't have to worry about it.
And then our kids do it, and then they die, because it's all pointless.
You're actually right, though. I mean, because the zipper is all about, like, you got to be aware of what's happening around you. Sometimes you slow down. Sometimes you speed up. But
and
ultimately,
here's the thing. Going around the zipper doesn't get you anywhere. Doesn't get you anywhere.
No.
It just pisses people off, and confusion, and it just we
slows
need
everybody
cars.
down.
Scientists, get on the robot cars immediately.
Jesus, did we get a sponsor from robot cars?
Let's
really bring
step it up. I want robot cars tomorrow. I got to get places. I want to get to the Rite Aid faster.
But you know what? And again, when I think about all the books that are out there about becoming an alpha male, and about how anybody can do it, is basically what they're saying. Right. And again, my idea is like, well, how much real science and biology is in this? If everybody can learn this, everybody can do it.
Right.
And it's like the people who tell you, like, send me $100 and I'll tell you how to make $1 million. It's like, I just told you. I just told you how to do it.
Yeah. Now you get 10,000 goofballs to send you a C note, and you're there.
Right. That's it.
That's it. Just find 10,000 people stupider than you, and you're home free.
And I think, there's a lot of money in the self-help industry. And to me, I see this more as kind of like a self-help sort of thing where, and they say that, I looked it up, and there was, like, in 2023, they thought $11 billion to $13 billion in the self-help industry. So there's a lot of money to be made about people, again, going back to Charles Atlas, telling the skinny guy how not to get sand kicked in his face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Maybe we should write a self-help book on how to be an Omega man.
How to tone it down a bit.
Yeah. How to follow. How
to work your way down. Sure. It's like easy if you're good looking to make your way to the top. But how about you? How about if you good looking guy, deep voice, tall? How do you get down to the bottom where everybody's treating you like crap?
That's right. It's easy to be the mouth. It's a lot harder to be the anus.
That's right. That's the book. Let's put that out there. I did read when I was doing this, that they have found, like, certain things there's social cues, social dominance cues. So, like, in our culture, for example, people who are tall usually have a little more prestige socially.
Sons of bitches.
I know people think that they're more honest somehow. I don't know how, if you're tall, you're honest, but that's. And then they say, if you have a deep voice, people.
Yeah, go ahead.
They call it the Barry. The Barry White effect. Like, apparently, and then the other, if you're good looking, but that's pretty obvious. That's pretty obvious to me.
That's why I've gotten as far as I have, because I'm handsome.
Yeah. Just look at you. That's what we need to put you out there.
Yeah, just look at me.
We need to take some glamour shots of you and put them on the website, on the Facebook.
You want to be successful? Just look like me. That's my self-help book.
It's like a kid's book. It's like 10 pages. 10 thick pages. So
we start with the toes and we end with the hair. We just work our way up.
I had a friend of mine. I've actually known a couple people like this in my life. But their method, quote unquote method, with the ladies was that they would just put it out to everybody.
Yeah.
So they were just always sexual, always some innuendo, always some like ogling, Google, And the idea was
like the equivalent of using huge nets to trap dolphins. Pretty soon you're going to get one.
Yeah. I always say it was like putting out flyers, advertising flyers.
Right.
There's a 4% return on it usually. So, and they would say that that's what it was. I just put it out to everybody. So if you put it out to 200 women, like 8 of them may go home with you,
right? Or
something.
Yeah. It's the carpet bombing approach. You just,
yeah.
Speaking of flyers, remember that job you had where you had to walk into office places and
yeah. Oh, that was awful. I hated that job. I don't know if I've talked about it on here before or not.
I don't think so.
But my job was they put me in a suit and I had to go and they were for knife sets, like flyers for knife sets. And they dropped me off at an office with another guy. But I had a boss. Okay, yeah. So I was working under him. And he gave me some flyers and he goes, okay, just go throughout the building and try to work your way into the lunchrooms and put these flyers in there. Because they had his number on it, or like, type in this number and then put operator such and such. And then he would get the sale for that.
Got it. Yeah.
So I did that. I got up to a floor, I'm wearing a suit and I have all these flyers and a briefcase and everything. And I'm like, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. So I go in a bathroom on one of the floors and I just stuff all the flyers in there. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I come downstairs and I wait down the lobby and pretty soon he comes out and he goes, hey, how'd it go? And I go, oh, it was great. Everything went fine. He goes, you put all those flyers out? And I was like, yeah. I pass them all out all over. You put them in the lunchrooms, right? And I'm like, yeah, I put them in the lunchroom. He holds up all the flyers. He had gone in and got them out of the bathroom that I'd thrown them away.
He'd been washing his hands and put the paper towel in the thing. Goes, wait a second.
Yeah,
that son of a bitch.
But
he was the alpha. He was the alpha.
He really was. He had driven us there, so there was no way for me to get back to my car. I had to ride home with him. That was
God. Oh God.
It was horrible. It was hard. But I was like, I can't do this job. I can't go in there.
Yeah.
But it was amazing. He would walk in and just, again, maybe this is the alpha. He would walk in like in a suit with a briefcase and just walk by the receptionist and nobody would question him who he was.
Yeah.
He would work his way back to the break room and then just pass all this shit out back there. All these flyers.
That's called criminal behavior.
Yeah.
He's a sociopath. Yeah. He doesn't give a crap what people think.
Right.
That's what the alpha male really is.
So, but getting back to our topic, I would say, there's a difference between using self-help or communication techniques to make yourself more comfortable in social situations and using pseudoscience or cherry picking scientific facts to explain you being an asshole at Thanksgiving or to say that, you mistreating women is just you expressing your 7 million year old DNA or something like that.
Yeah. It's an excuse not to look at yourself. Yeah.
Right. And I would say also it's a very slippery slope because once you start saying that there's a biological or genetic reason that I personally am superior to other people, it doesn't take much to start saying, maybe I should just hang out with other superior individuals. And then from there, you get into maybe my race is superior.
Yes. To people. I knew that's where you were heading. It all leads to fascism at some point.
Yeah. And I would say probably, I couldn't find any articles talking about this, but it's interesting that in the past 20 years, as we've seen the elevation of, or like the popularization of the alpha male philosophy, we've also seen a resurgence of white supremacy and fascism throughout the world.
Strong man.
Right. And because, alpha maleness and its emphasis on biological and genetic hierarchies, as opposed to it just being like a arbitrary cultural construction,
right,
is tailor-made for fascism.
Yeah.
Basically, it's kind of conditioning people to believe in that fascist hierarchy, as if it's a biological fact, not just that it's a choice that people make.
This is just who I am.
Right. And in fascism, you always have to have an other, somebody else. There always has to be somebody below you. That's the whole thing.
That's the purpose I serve.
well, the thing is, once you get rid of the obvious lowers, like Jewish people or homosexuals or whatever, you still have to have a lower in that system. And so that's why at a certain point, fascism starts feeding upon itself, because even the fascists have to have other fascists. At that point, they start picking the lower prestige fascists to kick out.
Yep. And the snake eats its own tail.
Right. And there was a time where there were even Jewish fascists back in the 1920s.
Wow.
And then back in the 1940s, when they started deporting all the Jews from Italy, there were people that were like, but I'm a fascist. It's like, well,
no.
Then you understand. You got to go. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And if you remember, John, back in the 1990s, I wrote a play called The Rise and Fall of Benito Mussolini as Told by Circus Clowns.
Highly recommend giving that a read, everybody.
Yeah.
It's a great play.
But Mussolini was supposed to be an alpha male. He was the man of action.
Yes.
And fascists love that man of action. They love the idea of the man of action.
Yeah.
The guy who doesn't think, he just acts.
Right.
He may not know what he's doing or what he's talking about, but he acts. He's an alpha male, and that's what alpha males do.
Yeah.
And Mussolini had, to give you an example of it, he had an office that was 120 feet long and was 30 or 40 feet high. It was an old Renaissance palace. And
what did they use? A hallway? That'll be my office. But it's it's a hallway. We won't be able to get anywhere. I don't care.
Just put my desk down at the end of that thing.
Yeah.
But that's what he would do. He would sit in his desk, and when people came in, he would make them walk that entire distance.
That's so comical. I mean, that's just, I would be laughing. I'd be scared because I'd be in Benito Mussolini's office. But inside, I'd be, this is the most ridiculous. It's like a cartoon.
Right. And that's the point of the play. The play was told by circus clowns because you find it funny, you find it comical. And then the more it goes on, you just realize, people are losing their lives here. People are being killed because of this. It's not so funny anymore. How do we stop it? It won't stop.
Right.
But that's how it is. It is it was comical. That's what we did. I would never work for somebody like that. And the point is, you had to work for somebody like that.
Yeah.
The other thing it was all about sex. And so people would always say that every woman that came to his office, he was having sex with in his office, because again, fascists are all about manly,
if that were truly the case, he should be having sex with anything that comes in his office.
Right.
Men, women, animals,
Who knows?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Benito will fuck anything.
But
he's an alpha man.
But it wasn't that, you know what I mean? It was actually, it was just women, because culturally,
just women. Yeah.
Culturally, that's what the Italians wanted. They wanted to have a guy who was big ladies man.
Yes.
And I just want to say that there's no, from my research on fascism, there's no individual freedom in fascism.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there's only one leader, and in a fascist state, we all do what that one leader tells us to do.
Right.
And I want all of people who want to think about the fascism's not so bad. You don't get to do what you want to do. Okay.
Right.
If you love individual freedom, fascism is not the kind of system for you, is what I'm going to say.
Well, I think that the thinking is okay, I'm going to turn over my power to this father figure who's going to fix everything, and then he's going to turn it back over to us. And that never happens. Yeah.
No. And there's also, why do you think people like Hitler and Mussolini had to start killing other fascists and Nazis? Is because if you get too popular, or if you start doing your own thing, you got to go. You got to go.
Yeah.
So, and whatever it is, I don't like people telling me what to do.
That is true. You do not. I've asked you to pass me the salt, and you've punched me in the face.
Yeah. Screw you.
Yeah.
Screw you.
I can't believe it.
Get your own damn salt.
I just needed the salt.
What am I, a salt shaker? What am I, a lazy Susan? The other thing, I want to say is, in light of what happened in Kansas City this week, and that's having a gun does not make you an automatic alpha. Okay. And some people buy a gun. I have nothing against guns, but some people buy a gun and suddenly think that they're untouchable. Nobody's going to ever pick on me again. And I just want to say, part of being an alpha from a chimp perspective is, again, maintaining order, maintaining that, like, diffusing situations, diffusing aggression. It's not always on from a chimp, an alpha chimp.
Right.
And the skill is knowing when to take it to the next level in those situations. Like, if you're having a confrontation with somebody, is it worth taking their life at that point? Or is this just a verbal argument and it needs to end at that? Or is it just a physical argument and it just needs to end at that?
But by that time, their frontal cortex is flooded. You know, it's like you can't even process anything.
Yeah.
Which is the argument against guns, because it's like, the gun doesn't kill people, but people go crazy enough where they can't stop themselves, even sane people.
Yeah.
They just snap, you know?
It's, I remember one time I was walking home in Venice along Abbot Kinney Boulevard, and, you know, Venice at that time, I don't know if it still is, but it was questionable. It was sketchy out there. And so you never knew what was going to happen. And I was outside the Brig, which was a dive bar at that time. Now it's like a trendy bar, I think.
I drank many a beer at the Brig.
The Brig was great at that time.
Yeah.
And there was just some guy just wanted to start shit with me outside the Brig. And
you asshole.
Yeah. It was that sort of situation. And, you know, I just wanted to go home. It wouldn't let it go. And I kind of blacked out. And I remember, like, at one point I had him up against a car with my hand on his throat. And I remember,
you've been trained in martial arts. Like, you could kill him.
Right. And that moment came across me, or it came to me in that moment of, like, is this where I could kill him? I could kill him right now. I could collapse his throat and it would be over.
Jesus.
And the real skill in whether having a gun or in martial arts, I think, is being able to tell what the situation requires.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
right. But I mean, thank God you didn't do it.
Yeah.
But I think you could, you know, I wonder how many people out of 100 would have killed him, you know?
Or if you have a gun in that, so you don't have that in a gun, it's over. You know what I mean?
It's like texting. I hate texting if you're really trying to communicate anything nuanced, because you send that shit and it's done. It's too easy.
Right.
We made stuff too efficient. We need a little break there. I have a friend who has a 20-minute timer on his emails. So he sends an email, but it doesn't go out for 20 minutes.
Really?
It's pretty smart. Yeah.
Yeah. So he can go back in and double check it.
Yeah. Be like, wait, I don't want to send that. I was pissed.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Oh, that's kind of good. That is. That's kind of a good idea.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a difference between, like, being drunk and throwing haymakers at somebody outside in the parking lot that don't land, and being drunk and shooting a gun at somebody and missing. And then everybody else gets killed. Everybody else dies because of your bullshit. You know what I mean?
This is what happened in Kansas City. That's exactly what happened.
So I just want to say my heart and sympathy goes out to everyone that was affected and injured and killed in that situation in Kansas City. I just really feel for everybody.
Yeah.
But anyway, going on, would you say you wouldn't consider yourself an alpha male?
God, no. Only in my worst moments. No, I've learned the hard way that it's better to bend with the wind. That's what I do. I'm like a weed.
How about in certain situations, like improv? Like, you're very good at improv. Do you feel yourself?
Yeah, up on stage, I'm the kind of guy that I wish I were in the rest, you know, or you know, when I'm in my sort of ego mind. On stage, I'm free. I take charge. I can do all kinds of stuff. But then off stage, I'm like, what? You can't pay me? That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm gonna go out to the car now.
There's in improv, there are like some guys that try to bully everybody on the stage.
Yeah, they steamroll. They call them steamrollers, or they did in my day.
Yeah. Do you do that? Are you a steamroller?
No, I mean, sometimes it's a tool in a toolbox. Sometimes, you know, you look over and your partner's just like, I don't know, they're kind of deer in the headlights and need a little break. But I guess I can. That's like the darker side of my improv is when I do that.
You can take it. You're like a Mahomes. You can take over the game and just just will it to happen.
Only he's in front of 2 million people and I'm in front of 20.
Yeah. What about when you were producing? Did you feel like you were a producer? You were a star of a couple of shows. Did it go to your head? Did you feel like, hey,
sure. For sure. And I remember I thought, you have a crew of 100 people, and you're in charge, or me and, my partner. And I remember thinking, like, at first I thought, oh, it's all of their job to work to bring my idea, to execute my idea.
Right.
And then I kind of had a moment, where I realized, no, that's not it at all. It's my job to create in a way that utilizes what they do best.
Right.
So like we realized we had this amazing costume department. So we started writing to them.
That's great.
And that goes for all the departments, all of them. So you find out what people do best, and then you adapt to them, so that and that makes the best work, really.
That's a good leader. It's a good
leader. I stumbled into it, but but it's for me, it was just the most effective. It was just like, oh, it's better. So and we're not being dicks to each other.
Right.
It's a win-win.
That's great. Yeah. Were you ever a prima donna on that show like you are in this one? Or you?
Yeah, I'm like I am here. Not really. No, I have too much self-loathing to be a prima donna.
Yeah.
It keeps me in check.
And before we move on to the biology of alphaness, I just want to say once more about just acting like an asshole in public. And again, this is take it from a guy who has been an asshole in public.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you, I've never heard anyone say ever, oh, I love Fred. He's such an ass. I want to be just like him. You know what I mean? Or I love Craig. He's such an asshole. Why can't more people be like him? Or something? You know what I mean? You never hear that. So just be aware of that.
Yeah.
Okay, John. So just moving on to the biology of humans and chimps. Now, you and I, in our topic on teaching chimps to talk, we talked about the genetic similarities between humans and chimps.
Yes.
And one of the things people will always say is like, well, chimps and humans are 98% the same.
Yes.
They have the same DNA. Now, we also have 98% the same DNA as bonobos.
The bonobos. Yes.
I'm
a fan of the bonobos.
Right. But the thing is, a lot of that similar DNA is just the operating system. You know what I mean? It's really not what distinguishes us from chimps and bonobos.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at you put you next to a chimp. You guys don't look very much alike.
Yeah, I don't have any hair, at least.
Right. Well, that's a biggie.
And the thing is, though, people will say they'll use that analogy. They'll throw out that 98% the same to kind of explain how they behave when they're being aggressive, or like, this is just natural. I'm just a chimp. Deep down, I'm just a chimp.
Yeah.
And in the book, Jonathan marks what it means to be 98% chimp, which we talked about before. Yeah. He says that, 98% it's similar, but it's that difference. It's the DNA that's not the same.
Yeah.
That gives us like bipedalism, a large prefrontal cortex, a brain, allows us to be in large societies.
Turns out that 2% is a lot. There's a lot of stuff in that 2%.
Right, exactly. So when we say that, it's like, yeah, but that difference in DNA, those 2% or whatever, that's what makes that's why we're on the outside of the cage and they're on the inside of the cage.
Any beer drinker knows the difference between 6% alcohol and 8% alcohol. It's a big difference.
Huge difference. Huge difference. And so, it's like, yes, we're like chimps and we're like bonobos, but we're also very, very different. But what I find interesting is it's that similarity, that part that kept us from evolving, that kept us from becoming, getting to where we are. That's the part that people who go after alpha maleness want to use to run their life. They want to use the chimp part that kept chimps,
The part of us that's the same. Yeah.
Right. And if anything, you want to use the part that's different than chimps, for us. That's how we got to where we're at right now.
Right. But even the part that they want to go after has been disproven. It's not. It's much more complicated than just being a dickhead.
Yeah, like even like alpha wolves, for example. For years, people thought alpha wolves fought with each other to maintain their structure, their hierarchy. And what happened is once they started putting in like radio collars on wolves and they could track them, they realized a wolf pack is a family. Like there's a mom and dad and then siblings underneath.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there's really this idea of like the alpha wolf's always fighting to maintain their position. No, it's just a parent. It's just a dad. It's just a dad.
I don't know what happened with my family because the kids are in charge of our operation.
Yeah, maybe we should do some study on you. Put a radio collar on you.
Yeah. Let's put radio collars on everybody and just see what we all are really about.
Yeah.
That's why I want the chip. Put the chip in my head. Let's figure out. Let's take a good hard look at ourselves.
Download that data. See what you what you've been up to.
Yeah. It's not going to be pretty.
Back and forth from Starbucks. That's all it is. Look at it. Look at his range. Look at his range.
Well, now he's flossing.
We should put a camera. We'll do that. We'll put collars on you and me, and people can track us and see what we're doing.
That's a great idea.
So anyway, in Marlene Zuk's book, Sexual Selections, again, she says, the problems with selectively choosing certain animal behaviors and applying them to humans is that we cherry pick that data to fit what we already want to believe.
Well, that's Facebook. That's what's gotten us to this place.
So we end up also, we misperceive what's an animal behavior. And we look at chimps, for example, and we say, "Oh, look at those chimps! That's what we do. That's just like my boss at work or something." He's chasing people around. It's like, well, that's a chimp behavior, and on the exterior, there's a similarity, but it's not exactly the same as what your boss is doing.
That's like when your cousin says something like, "Well, studies show."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh no."
Yeah.
The world's flat. Studies show the world's flat. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Have you ever seen it? Have you ever seen it round?
Yeah.
And Zook also makes a good point. She goes, there's other animals like baboons and even bluebirds will do things that are similar to humans.
Bluebirds?
Yeah. They walk on two legs. They use tools.
They do? Bluebirds use tools?
Well, certain birds will use like a stick, for example, to open up something.
Oh, and they vomit their food into their kids. It's like me. That's what I did. That's how I got my kids to where they are. We saved a lot of money on baby food.
I've been to dinner over there. That's all. That's how you try to feed me too.
Yeah. All right. It's not pretty, but it's a good source of protein.
Yeah. And I'm still like, well, it's still barbecue. Still barbecue.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But the thing is, we don't go around trying to like guinea pigs have a hierarchy too. We don't go around saying I'm going to live like a guinea pig, for example.
Oh no.
And then the other.
Yeah, guinea pigs seems like kind of a nice life. What do? They just sleep.
Sleep and squeal and get up and get a drink of water. And
well, that's not far from me anyway.
But, and then when people want to talk about like, well, that's what chimps do, and I'm just a chimp. I'm like, well, what about bonobos?
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
My favorite now we're talking primatology.
Right.
Here we go.
We're going everywhere on this one.
Like yeah.
Because bonobos, remember, we have exactly the same DNA percentage with bonobos that we do with chimps.
Right.
However, Frans de Waal, who's a primatologist who's done a lot of work on chimps and bonobos, he says, one of the things that is interesting about bonobos is it's a female-centered egalitarian primate species that substitutes sex for aggression.
Oh, God. Who's at the top of the evolutionary chain? I mean, that sounds lovely.
I know. Me too.
Especially
if it's all about sex.
For women. Yeah, let's just vote for women, everybody, and have sex. Come on.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
And he goes on, he says, it is impossible to understand the social life of the bonobo without attention to its sex life. The two are inseparable. Whereas in most other species, sexual behavior is a fairly distinct category. In the bonobo, it has become an integral part of social relationships. And not just between males and females. Bonobos engage in sex virtually every partner combination. Male, female, and female.
It's on. The bonobos, it's just a big old orgy.
Yeah. And the other thing he says, when female bonobos arrive in a new group in the wild, their entrance is accompanied by lots of sex.
They fuck their way into the group.
Right.
Lovely. That sounds fantastic, everybody.
Yeah. and inevitably, he says, even whether in the wild or in captivity, a bonobo group or troop is always ruled by an older matriarch. It's an older female. And even though the males are larger than the females in bonobos, just like in chimps.
Yeah.
And so the reason I bring this up is if you're going to try to use a chimp to justify your behavior in the world and try to say that it's genetically and biologically ordained that you act the way you do, you're aggressive, you're selfish, you're misogynist because of your chimp DNA. My question is, you can't forget the bonobo.
Yeah, that's right.
You can't forget the bonobo. That's
right.
Yeah. But the thing is, people don't want to bring up the bonobo because it doesn't fit. Again, like I say, it's that confirmation bias. It doesn't fit the way they already want to believe and the way they already want to behave.
Right. The bonobos get away with... The bonobos is like the nerds ruling the world.
Yeah.
That's what would happen.
I would love it. I mean, and honestly, the reason I bring it up is really just to say you can't apply animal behavior to human behavior. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
And if you try to do that, just realize that that's a cultural thing you're doing. You're just picking and choosing things in an animal that kind of looks like what a human does.
Right.
Like when you see your dog walk on its back legs and try to open the door or something. It's not being human. It's just doing dog things and dog behavior.
That looks human.
With chimps. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Does Frans walk on his back legs and open a door?
No, about the only thing Frans does now is like poop on the floor and pee in his diaper.
Oh, Frans.
Anyway. All right, John. Well,
Wow. This has been amazing. Amazing. This is human number 2, wannabe bonobo, Omega Man, signing off.
Look, I'll leave it. You give me a dominant bonobo, I'd love to be a subordinate bonobo male. With all the sex, that's all I care about. Really.
Yeah.
That's all I care about.
Wow. And some video games.
But anyway, thanks for listening, everybody. If you found this podcast interesting, please tell a friend about it. And always be sure to to check us out on Facebook and on our Instagram. And everybody, with everything going on in the world, let's try to
vote for women and just chill out. Let it, and have sex.
All right. Love you guys. Love you, John. Thanks for everything, everybody.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye-bye.